Vigilante Williamson here with a very simple question. Who is tokenism really for? It cannot be for me. My theory is that it is for Robin DiAngelo worshipping execs who want to flick their bean to wokeness. Black Adam, Aldis Hodge, in talks to play Hawkman in New Line's DC movie. I do not think they should be blackwashing characters. I do not want blackwashed characters. I'd rather just characters who are already black be featured. Let me get into this article and then I will talk about some fantasy booking that doesn't quite fit what they have planned, but and then I'll get into Batwoman, who also is doing the woke thing and even being racist when they do it. I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. Aldis Hodge, who starred in City on the Hill and appeared in this year's remake of The Invisible Man, has nabbed the high-flying role of Hawkman in Black Adam and is now in final negotiations to join New Line's action thriller adventure featuring the DC anti-hero starring Dwayne Johnson, who, by the way, is already black, in case you had to flick your bean to wokeness. And he's already technically blackwash, but he's The Rock, and he adds a lot to the damn he adds to everything he adds. He adds to everything he enters. But that's neither here nor there. Let me skip over. It has a lot of technical stuff. An enticing factor for fans is the introduction in Black Adam of the Justice Society, a multi-generational group that precedes the Justice League. Characters Atom Smasher, to be played by Noah Centineo, as well as Dr. Fate and Cyclone, who have yet to be cast, will figure into the story. Then they give some background on Hawkman. So they want to do this Justice Society spinoff. If they want to do something else, they could cast a black character, a character that already exists, and they wouldn't have to make this woke thing, and they can spin off into a universe that I think a lot of people are interested in, and that's the Green Lantern universe, as I just notes. Instead of blackwashing Hawkman just to shoehorn in the Justice Society and get your little woke bean flicked, why not instead cast Michael Jai White as John Stewart Green Lantern? I think he would make a perfect John Stewart Green Lantern, because John Stewart was kind of a cool character. If you watch the Justice League and Justice League Unlimited cartoons, he's a established black character. I think the Green Lantern Corps, by their very nature, kind of prevent tokenism. I mean, think about it. Who is the defender of Green Lantern? A lot of people will say Hal Jordan. A lot of people will say Kyle Rayner. Shout out to EVS. Because of the 90s and early 2000s, a lot of people will remember that Hal Jordan's not even the original Green Lantern. It's Alan Ladd. So the Green Lantern mythos, the core aspect, there's other characters I didn't mention, like Kilowog or Guy Gardner. There's tons of cool characters in the Green Lantern core, and that's something there's a project, I think there's a Green Lantern TV show being talked about. You could spin off of that and have a definitive character who is black, who happens to be black, who is also well loved, who will be well cast. Michael Jai White will fit The Rock's energy. You get this macho thing going on. I think he would make a perfect Green Lantern. And there you go. You wouldn't have to do this blackwashing. You could save the Justice Society for something else. You could save Hawkman and have him be white when he's actually there. You don't need to have this. You have black characters. And speaking of other black characters that are being kind of blackwashed, we have the Batwoman, a show that is not successful, a show that people do not want, a show that people have not liked, and a show that injured its major actress, Ruby Rose. She was almost paralyzed by an accident on the set, and so their way of fixing it after you nearly kill your lead and they leave is to create a drug dealer character. Let me go to the scene. Yeah, she's Ryan Wilder. She's not in the DC universe at all. She's completely made up for the show. This new Batwoman. It's important how representation is. Representation is not important to me, sweetie. So let's get her as a drug dealer, which I don't think a female drug dealer or female, associated with drugs right now, if you, at the time of this recording, the Breonna Taylor thing is really, and I'll do more about that in the podcast. depending on which order you see this. But the Breonna Taylor thing is going on, and she was associated with a drug dealer, which was the source of the raid. And so you're answering with a drug dealer as Batwoman, a black woman drug dealer. But it's important for representation, right? So Mr. Jon Stewart, instead of having this show that nobody likes and recasting it with a racial stereotype and considering it representation, like, that's ignorant. This is why this Robin DiAngelo white fragility backhanded racism is just really disgusting. Like, who you think people don't notice that? Who are you making this for? You know what I mean? The people who you're attracting, who you think you're going to attract, are going to notice, oh, you made her a drug dealer. Thanks. Kate Kane's this rich white woman. She's a poor drug dealer living in a van. But instead of doing that, use a character that dated Jon Stewart, Vixen. She's already established in this Arrowverse. There was an animated cartoon about her that came out around the early Arrowverse, like 2015, 16, maybe even 17. They had like an anime webtoon. It was pretty cool. And I think she also appeared in Legends of Tomorrow. I didn't really watch Legends of Tomorrow. I was already done with the Arrowverse by then. Well, right around the time it started, I should say. But you already have this Vixen character. She's a character that's already black. You don't have to blackwash anything. This show needs to be canceled. Nobody's really watching. The only people who are watching are YouTubers and their fans to troll. I don't know how big that market you think it is, but I think you should go with another character like Vixen. Have a TV show based upon her. There's already some establishment in the Arrowverse. There's already a multiverse, so if you wanted to put her in more in the Snyderverse, whatever, you could use Vixen. Use Vixen. She would make a lot more sense than this. So that's all my take on it. I just think there are better characters that you could use. I think if DC just focuses on making money, they will be okay. I think this wokeness, this hit of wokeness, after all of the goodwill DC has put out, has been good, not so good. And let me see this costume. She looks terrible. DC, they don't show it. Look how terrible she looks. I meant to say that. Look how terrible she looks. Miscast. Nobody wants to see this. She looks like she's being forced to do this. She looks awful. As you can see, Kate Kane initially, she looked awful. Look at this. Just horrible. It's a horrible costume. So always remember, more people remember Michael B. Jordan as Killmonger, not as Johnny Storm. Let characters who are already black appear. DC was going in a very fun direction. I gave the fantasy book, you would have to change a lot. But having the Green Lantern Corps introduced in Black Adam instead of the Justice Society, having Michael Jai White as a cool, badass Jon Stewart would add to The Rock's energy. It would be a cool, badass DC Expendables-esque thing going on, especially if Henry Cavill got involved. And now you have something that DC fans are excited about instead of let's introduce the Justice Society because we want to, and let's be woke because we want to, and not really have a plan for anything. And then with this, Javicia Leslie, and I hopefully I'm pronouncing her name right, she could be cast better. Even her, she could be playing Vixen instead of Batwoman. And you would have an interesting character who you could bring out. More people will see, more people will be introduced to this character. Say what you will about Marvel, but at least they're pushing Kamala Khan. You know what I mean? They create this character. At least she's a brand new, fresh character. Yeah, she's technically Miss Marvel, but they came with a whole new origin story. She wasn't like recast of Miss Marvel, and they pushed her. Now, I think it's garbage, but you don't even have to do that. Vixen's an established character. She's already established in this universe. She would make a much better casting and a much better character than rehashing Batwoman. Just cancel it. You almost killed Ruby Rose. You don't need to damage anyone else with your woke garbage.
Real quick before closing out the video, there are a few things I missed in the video. Firstly, there's that Michael Jai White himself has been lobbying for the casting of being Green Lantern. And I wanted to further why I thought the Green Lantern Corps is kind of prevented from being woke, and one of the main issues with tokenism in general. let's take this Hawkman situation. Carter Hall being turned into a black character now means the Carter Hall character is damaged. And if somebody who likes the Hawkman that they put on screen wants to go get a Carter Hall comic, a Carter Hall Hawkman comic, he's going to get a different character. He's going to see a white character instead of a black one, unless you change that and then you'll erase a character's history. It's weird. But with the Green Lantern Corps, you can always make a new Green Lantern. I think they even had a new one called Jessica Cruz. But my point is, John Stewart, or if you wanted to create a new Green Lantern, a brand new Green Lantern, because you had some woke demographic you want to portray, that's fine. It will never take away from Hal Jordan or Kyle Rayner or John Stewart or any other Green Lantern, because it's a new character in and of itself with this power set. And because of the nature of the Green Lantern Corps, you can always add a new character if you need to or want to, without ruining the prior characters, which in this case, this Carter Hall situation, it does. It's disconnected from the comic. And I also want to take some time to mention the most meritocratic race swap in history, and that's Nick Fury. And mainly because Marvel didn't want to just cast a black Nick Fury. They specifically wanted Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury, so much so that years before the MCU even started, they made the ultimate Nick Fury the black son of the original Nick Fury Jr., and they made him look as much like Samuel L. Jackson as they could without getting sued, and they reached out for him. This is like 4 or 5 years before the MCU was even thought of or even started. They wanted Samuel L. Jackson, not because he was black, but because he was a star, and they wanted his specific energy. And I think something like that works with Michael Jai White as well in this Green Lantern situation. And again, he's also lobbying for it. And I also want to mention that Tinkerbell has also been cast as a black character, and while Tinkerbell herself doesn't have the same type of lore with DC, actually I'm saying that without knowing, I'm not a Peter Pan expert, but I just don't see a need to recast Tinkerbell as black. I don't get it. It doesn't make me feel included. I just want to see characters as they are. Come up with a new character. That has always been my motto. No one wants to see any characters blackwashed or whitewashed. We just want to see characters authentic to themselves. If you like the video, please like the video. Love me or hate me, let me know in the comments below. If you're so obliged to share and subscribe, please do so. And even if you do none of these things, thank you for watching and thank you for your time. God bless.